Welcome everyone in this new era of digital learning. I am Mukul Bhatnagar and I will be teaching you GST during this entire semester. In today's class, we will take a basic introduction to GST. We will see what GST is and we will study some GST related terms to clear a full picture of GST in your mind. We will try to find out that who is liable to deposit the amount of GST with the government and from whose pocket the amount of tax is actually coming out. So to start with, GST, the full form of GST is Goods and Service Tax. So it is a tax which is levied on supply of goods or service or both. So if anyone is supplying goods or service to anybody, the tax which is levied by the government is GST. How this actually works, let us take an example that if A is supplying goods to B worth rupees 100 and let us say the amount of tax is 18%. Now what is this tax? Tax is nothing but the compulsory payment which anyone has to make to the government. So when A is supplying goods to B, the government say that whatever is the amount of goods, you have to make a compulsory payment to me. So that compulsory payment which someone has to do, which someone has to deposit with the government, that is called tax. And if this payment is regarding the supply of goods and services, that tax is GST. So let us say that GST is 18%. It means when A supply goods to B, the amount is rupees 100 plus 18%, that is 18 rupees will be of GST. Now B has to pay a total of 118 rupees to A. So this is a basic mechanism of GST. Whatever is the amount of goods, on that amount the percentage of GST is imposed, the percentage of GST is applied, and after applying that amount, the total payment is made by the recipient of the goods. So B will pay 118 rupees to A. Now A will keep 100 rupees with himself and deposit the 18 rupees with the government. So students, please make sure that amount of GST is going out of the pocket of B. B is the recipient of goods, but the liability, the responsibility of depositing the tax with the government lies with the supplier of goods. So B is the person who is actually paying tax, but A is the person who is depositing tax with the government. So this is the basic mechanism of GST, that how GST works. Further, this 18%, this amount of 18% is bifurcated in two heads. Half of this amount is kept by central government in the name of CGST, Central Goods and Service Tax, and half of this amount is kept by state government in the name of SGST or UTGST, that is State Goods and Service Tax and Union Territory Goods and Service Tax. So this 18 rupees, out of this 18 rupees, 9 rupees will go in the pocket of central government and 9 rupees will go in the pocket of state government. So this is how GST works. If anyone is supplying goods to anybody, then it has to pay tax and that tax is called GST. So moving further, these are the topics which we will be studying in this lecture. First of all, we will take a basic introduction to GST. We will study that what is the meaning of tax in detail. We will study different kinds of taxes. And then in next class, we will go through the tax structure of India. So let us start with the introduction to GST. Yes, so here it is. So as far as GST is concerned, see, GST is an indirect tax. Now I think everyone is aware what is the meaning of indirect tax. Indirect tax is a tax which is imposed on one person but paid by another person. So that's why we are saying that GST is an indirect tax that has displaced many indirect taxes in India. Means almost all kind of indirect taxes has been removed from almost all goods and services after the introduction of GST. And as far as GST Act, the Goods and Service Tax Act is concerned, it was passed in Parliament on 29th March 2017, and the same act came into force on 1st July 2017. Now, before I move further into this discussion, I want to make sure that everyone who is studying any law, not only GST, but any law, companies law, business laws, labor laws, commercial laws, any law, they must be aware of certain basic terms. They must be aware of what is an act, what are rules, what is difference between act and rules. So to start with, what is an act? So act is nothing but a set of rules. It is a book which contains rules regarding a particular area, regarding a particular field. For example, we have many acts. We have GST Act 2017, the Income Tax Act 1961, Indian Contract Act 1872, and many more acts. Excise Act, Service Act, Forest Act, Patent Act, Trademark Act, Copyright Act, Design Act, and many more acts. So the thing which I want you to know is this, that what is an act? So to understand this, let us pick up the act which I will be teaching you in this entire semester, that is the Goods and Service Tax Act 2017. The Goods and Service Tax Act 2017. So act means a set of rules. An act is nothing but a book in which rules of a certain field are written. So Goods and Service Tax Act 2017 means, see, it is nothing but a book containing rules which was prepared by Government of India in 2017. It is a book containing rules and regulation regarding supply of goods and services, that how tax will be levied depending upon different situations and conditions in which transaction has taken place. So I think that I have made myself clear that an act is a set of rules. So now you tell me that who make these rules? Government of India, which is elected by us. Are these rules enforceable? Yes, absolutely. Enforceable means that it is compulsory for us to follow these rules. Yes, they are compulsory for us. Can we question them? Yes, every person has the right to file a public interest litigation in court, and we can question any law framed by the government. There is no problem. But the question which we need to address here is, see, we are studying Goods and Service Tax Act. So we need to know that who has to pay GST and who is not required to pay GST. How much GST should be paid? How it should be paid? What is the procedure of paying GST? What will happen in the case if I do not pay GST? All these questions, all the answers of these questions are written in this book, that is GST Act 2017. So before I open this book for you and answer all your questions, let us first study some basic terms which you are required to be aware of for the better understanding of this law. So to start with, let us first see in detail that what is tax. So tax is the amount which is paid by people compulsorily to the government, and the same amount paid acts as a source of income for the government. So as you can see, it is written here, tax is a compulsory contribution to state revenue levied by the government on workers' income and business profits, or added to the cost of some good, service and transaction. And as far as the term tax is concerned, the term tax is acquired from the Latin expression taxare. Taxare intends to estimate, appreciate or value. Tax is the price given by somebody staying inside the national boundaries of a sovereign country and is levied on people, assets, business, sales, service, etc. Tax compounds to government revenue, that is, tax increases government funds. It is the source of income for the government. And furthermore, tax can also be defined as a mandatory toll of money by government authorizations enforceable by law or civil goals. Furthermore, doesn't anticipate a payment of service performed. It means tax is nothing but a necessary fee of money that is imposed by government on the people, and whatever amount government collects through this fee is further used by government to serve public at large. Further, it is written that the state levies the tax under its sovereign powers. Both central government and state government are authorized to frame laws, concerning the levy and collection of taxes. So this is an introduction to what is tax. I think it is clear to everybody. So moving further, let us study the different kinds of taxes which can be levied by the government. So we have progressive tax, regressive tax, proportionate tax, specific tax, direct tax, indirect tax, and VAT. So these are the different kinds of taxes that can be levied by the government. Make sure that I am not saying that these taxes are levied by the government. I am saying such taxes can be levied by the government. Mean to say, all these taxes are just various kinds of taxes. It is not necessary the tax we are talking about is imposed by Government of India. So to start with, the first type of tax which we have is progressive tax. Progressive tax is that tax which increases with increasing level of income. Means the person who is earning more income has to pay more tax, and the person who is earning less income has to pay less tax. For example, in India we have income tax. That is an example of progressive tax. So if you know that there are slab rates in income tax, signifying more amount of income you earn, more amount of tax you need to deposit with the government. So this is progressive tax, the tax which takes more money from rich people and less money from poor people. Moving further, let us now talk about another kind of tax, that is regressive tax. So regressive tax is generally a tax that is applied uniformly to all situations regardless of the payer. A regressive tax takes a large percentage of income from low income groups. In India, GST is an example of regressive tax. How GST is a regressive tax? So to understand this, let us take an example that a person has went to the shop for purchasing medicine. Different medicines are taxed at different rates in India. So let us assume GST on medication that one is consuming is 18% and the price is 10,000 rupees. So the total amount that is required to be paid is 10,000 plus 1800, 1800 extra for GST. So if a rich person goes to take this medicine, it will not hurt him to give him 1800 rupees. But on the other hand, if a poor person goes and take the same medicine, this extra 1800 rupees would definitely bother him. This money is a massive deal for him. And this is what regressive tax does. It takes large proportion of income from low income groups. So the next tax after regressive tax is proportionate tax. This tax takes the same amount of tax from lower, upper and middle class. For example, if government says that everyone deposit 10% of your income with the government. So the person who is earning 100 rupees per month has to deposit 10%, that is 10 rupees, and the person earning 1 lakh rupees per month has to deposit 10,000 rupees to the government. So if any such kind of tax is there, that tax will be proportionate tax. Right now, proportionate tax is not the tax which is being practiced in India. Similarly, the next tax, that is specific tax, is also not practiced in India. Now what is specific tax? It is a tax which is levied on a particular characteristic of a commodity. If the tax is levied on the base of certain characteristic, certain feature, that tax is called specific tax. Let us take an example that if government says that if you are manufacturing soap and the soap is of red in color, then you have to pay 5% of tax. But the soap manufactured by you is of green in color, then you have to pay 10% of tax. So this tax is levied on a particular characteristic of which commodity is. So let us move further and study what is direct tax and what is indirect tax. So direct tax is a tax which is paid by the person on whom it is legally imposed. Under direct tax, incidence and impact fall on the same entity, whereas under indirect tax, incidence and impact fall on different entity. And indirect tax is a tax which is imposed on one person but paid by another person. It means the person on whom tax is imposed and the person from whose pocket money is going out, if both these persons are different, then that tax is indirect tax. So I think that makes you absolutely clear that what are the different categories of taxes that can be levied by government. In India, government levy levies two kinds of taxes. One is direct tax and one is indirect tax. The direct tax which is levied by the government is progressive in nature, and the indirect tax, that is GST, which is levied by the government, is regressive in nature. So basically, government categorizes the tax which is levied by him on the people of India into two categories, direct and indirect. I hope it makes you clear. Now moving further, we will see the difference between direct tax and indirect tax. So first of all, we will differentiate between direct tax and indirect tax on the basis of meaning. So as far as meaning is concerned, direct tax is a tax. Direct tax is a price which is given by the person at whom that is lawfully imposed, on whom it is legally imposed. And as far as indirect tax is concerned, indirect tax is a charge which is taxed at one, however given completely or partially by another. So this is the meaning of direct tax and indirect tax. Now let us talk about the incidence and impact of direct and indirect tax. So as far as direct tax is concerned, the incidence and impact of direct tax lies on the same entity, lies on the same person, lies on the same organization. It means, incidence means the person on whom tax is levied, the person on whom tax is imposed. Whereas impact means the burden of tax lies on whom. So the person on whom tax is imposed and the burden of tax lies on the same entity, lies on the same person as far as direct tax is concerned. Whereas on the other hand, in indirect tax, incidence and impact lies on the same person. On the different entity. So moving further and talking about the transaction on which these taxes are levied. So direct tax is levied on income and profit, whereas indirect taxes are levied on all kinds of goods and services. Now the question arises is, who pays direct tax and who pays indirect tax? So direct tax is paid by individual and businesses, whereas indirect tax is actually paid by the end consumer. Indirect tax is actually going out of the pocket of end consumer. At the end, the person who is consuming the final goods is actually paying the indirect tax. But it is not in the case of direct tax. Now let us talk about the transferability of direct and indirect tax. So as far as transferability of direct tax is concerned, direct tax is non-transferable. It means if direct tax is levied on me, as a person only I have to pay the direct tax. I cannot transfer the burden of direct tax from me to any other person. But in case of indirect tax is transferable. If I am manufacturing any goods or services, I can sell it to someone else, so someone else has to pay that indirect tax. So direct tax is non-transferable, indirect tax is transferable. Moving on and talking about the nature of direct tax. Direct tax is progressive in nature. It means with the increase in level of income, more direct tax is needed to be paid, and with decrease in level of income, lesser amount of direct tax is needed to be paid. So direct tax is directly proportional to the income level of the person. So that's why we are saying that direct tax is progressive in nature. Now let us talk about the indirect tax. So indirect tax is regressive in nature. It means indirect tax is applied to all persons, at all people, regardless of the payer. It doesn't matter who is paying the indirect tax. It doesn't matter whether the rich is paying the indirect tax or whether the poor is paying the indirect tax. It doesn't matter the person paying the indirect tax belongs to higher class, middle class or lower class. It doesn't matter in any of the situation. That's why we are saying that indirect tax is regressive in nature. Now let us talk about the collection of direct and indirect tax. So collection of direct tax is very complex. We must know that direct and indirect tax both are collected by the government. So while collecting these taxes, direct tax is collected by the government in a very complex way. It is very difficult for the government to collect the direct tax. On the other hand, collecting of indirect tax by the government is convenient. It is more easy as compared to direct tax as far as its collection is concerned. To make it more clearer into your mind, let us discuss some examples of direct tax. So here we have income tax as that direct tax, gift tax, tax on capital gains, security transaction tax, corporation tax, property tax, inheritance tax. And as far as indirect tax is concerned, we have GST, excise duty, value added tax, CST, central sales tax, customs duty. All these are the examples of indirect tax. So this is the distinction between direct and indirect tax to make you people absolutely clear about these concepts. So now moving further, let us start the tax structure in India. We will take a brief introduction of tax structure in India in this class, and in the next class we will discuss it in bit detail. So GST is an indirect tax which has replaced many indirect taxes in India. Taxes are the largest source of income for the government. This money is deployed for developmental activities of the nation. Taxes are determined by the central and state governments along with the local authorities like municipal corporation, and the government cannot impose any tax unless it is passed as a law in a parliament. It means if government is thinking of collecting money from the people in form of taxes, then that particular tax, the law for that particular tax has to be passed into the parliament. Moving further, the question arises is that who actually give power to the government to levy taxes? So the answer is Constitution of India. Constitution of India empower government to levy taxes and collect money from the people in the form of taxes. So now we will study various constitutional provisions to levy the tax. So we will bifurcate the constitutional provision under three heads. In the first head, we will study about Article 265. So Article 265 of the Constitution of India provides that no tax shall be levied or collected except by the authority of law. Therefore, no tax can be levied or collected in India unless it is explicitly or clearly authorized by way of legislation. It means if law does not permit the government to collect any tax, the government cannot do so. The next article is Article 246. So the only Schedule 7 of Article 246 is relevant for us as far as GST is concerned. The 7th schedule under Article 246 of the Constitution deals with the division of power between union and state. Article 246 of the Constitution demarcated the powers of the union and the state by classifying their powers into three lists, namely union list, state list and concurrent list. The Constitution of India has provided for the division of powers between central and the state government. Under the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution, there are three lists, namely union, state and concurrent list. So as far as union list is concerned, union list contains all those areas on which central government can frame laws. As far as state list is concerned, state list contains all those areas on which state government can frame laws. And as far as concurrent list is concerned, concurrent list contains all those areas in which central government can also frame law and state government can also frame law. And if under any case there is a particular area on which central has also framed law and state government has also framed law, then we will give consideration to the law framed by central government only. The next and the last bifurcation is Article 268 to 273. These articles decide that who is going to get the money which is collected by the government in the form of tax. Whether state government will get the money or central government will get the money. And as far as state government is concerned, which state will get the money. So all these things are decided under the Article 268 to Article 273. So this is the constitutional provisions to levy tax as per the Constitution of India. So for better understanding, you can see here it is written, union list is the list on which center has the exclusive jurisdiction to make laws. Union lists basically include the defense, foreign affairs, railways, banking, among others under which Parliament may make law. And as far as state list is concerned, state list is the list on which state has the exclusive jurisdiction to make law. Some of the subjects are public order, police, public health and sanitation, hospitals, dispensaries, betting and gambling. All these areas comes under the state list. And as far as concurrent list is concerned, concurrent list is a list on which both center and state can make laws. And as stated above, a central law prevails over the state in case of both government has framed law in particular area. So these are the constitutional provisions of India. In next class, we will study tax structure and taxation system in India in detail. We will go through the role of central and state government. We will again see the types of taxes which are given by the government of India. We will study direct and indirect taxes in bit more detail. We will go through Goods and Service Tax Act. And at last, we will see what are the different revenue authorities which are governing this tax structure of India. We will study about CBDT and we will study what kind of taxes are managed by CBDT. Similarly, we will study CBEC and we will study what types of taxes are under the control of CBEC. And in last, we will study CBIC and again we will study that what kind of taxes are managed by CBIC, and this will finish my tax structure of India. So I hope the whole lecture is clear to you.